It's painful to feel like you give everything and still come up short in someone else's eyes, but sometimes it's in those moments of hurt that we realize who we truly are and what we deserve. When your actions don't match your words, it's hard to convince someone you care, no matter how much you try to apologize. Even the most sincere apologies don't always heal the wounds we've caused. Sometimes the damage lingers longer than we expect. The hardest part of a relationship isn't the fights. It's the moments when you wonder if you're enough or if you're just a burden. Sometimes the biggest mistake you make is believing that love alone can fix everything. I never imagined that I would hurt someone I love this much. It's the worst feeling, knowing you're the cause of someone's pain. When you realize that no matter how much you give, you can never satisfy someone's emotional needs, you start questioning your worth in the relationship. Sometimes being the worst girlfriend isn't about what you've done, but about the fear that you're not enough. Not every mistake is unforgivable, but sometimes the distance between hearts becomes too wide for any words to close. Love is supposed to feel light, but sometimes it's just heavy, heavy with regret, guilt, and the fear of not being enough. In a world where love should feel safe, sometimes it feels like a battlefield where no one ever wins. We are all human, and sometimes the mistakes we make in relationships are just reflections of our own inner battles. The hardest thing about love is knowing when it's time to let go and admit you may never be the right person for someone. It hurts when you give your all, and yet you're still made to feel like you're falling short of expectations. The feeling of being the worst is often a reflection of self-doubt more than reality, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. There are moments when you feel invisible, even when you're standing right in front of the person you love. Sometimes the greatest lesson is learning how to forgive yourself, even when you know you've hurt someone deeply. The worst thing about being in a relationship where you feel inadequate is knowing that you're constantly trying to be something you're not. When you're constantly trying to prove your worth, you lose sight of what it means to just be loved for who you are. We often judge ourselves by our failures in relationships, but sometimes it's in those failures that we learn the most about who we truly are. The silence between two people can sometimes speak louder than any words ever could, especially when one feels they're the cause of the distance. Love is complex, and sometimes we lose ourselves trying to please others instead of staying true to who we are. Regret doesn't come from doing something wrong, but from not realizing sooner that love should never feel like a constant struggle. When you feel like you're not enough, it's easy to believe the worst about yourself, even if others see things differently. The greatest mistake you can make in love is thinking you need to be perfect for someone to love you. Sometimes the hardest part of being in love is accepting that not everyone will love you the way you wish to be loved. It's easy to think you're the worst when someone is hurt, but remember, no one is perfect and everyone makes mistakes. If every apology feels hollow, it may be time to step back and reflect on whether love is still enough to hold things together. Sometimes the most painful part is realizing that love may not always be enough to mend what's broken. In relationships, it's not the bad times that define us, but how we rise above them and choose to grow from our mistakes. You might feel like you're failing at love, but maybe it's not about perfection. It's about finding the strength to learn and grow together. No relationship is without its challenges, but it's the way you handle them that determines if you're truly the worst or simply human. Being in love means being vulnerable, and sometimes vulnerability leads to mistakes that make us question our worth. The worst feeling isn't about being hurt, but about knowing you've caused pain for someone you care deeply about. In every mistake, there's an opportunity to learn, but it takes courage to face those lessons and move forward. Sometimes we forget that it's okay not to be perfect, but we still need to strive for growth, even in the face of criticism. There will be times when you feel like you're not doing enough, but that's when you need to remind yourself that love is not a competition. Not everything in love can be fixed with words, but actions can show that you're trying, even when the damage feels irreparable. It's easy to feel like you're the worst when everything goes wrong, but every relationship has its challenges. What matters is how you deal with them